I can't give away all the goods. But we've been busy. We've been quite busy. We just let folks know that we recently, are going to acquire a pretty substantial piece of property in Skyway. We've actually been in Skyway since about 2017, working on that transaction and really trying to pursue an environmental justice angle with that. And we just thought it was the right time to let people know that we're definitely here to make sure that we acquire some property in Skyway to keep it in the community. Number one, but number two, create some economic opportunity down there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's necessary.
Yeah. Now this was an interesting one right here. Can you get more into some of the details around the acquisition, because you partnered up with like the State Department of Ecology, right?
Sure did. Sure did. Shout out to the Department of Ecology. It took a couple years before we were able to, work out a working path forward with them. And they saw a lot of opportunity in creating affordable housing and affordable home ownership. And after a couple years of just going through the nitty gritty with how the process was going to work, how the acquisition was that even going to happen, and they stepped up, and just their vote of confidence from the state of Washington is huge, so huge. So they stepped up and essentially made the first investment. And so for the state of Washington to do that is huge. And Big O, I'm not a fan of like playing in the government sphere when it comes to shaking my tin can. I like to hang out in the private market. But this was something that we needed real help from. And for a lot of folks who don't know, the state of Washington has a bucket of money, a pool of money dedicated to clean up toxic sites around the entire state. And obviously, the most toxic sites always end up being in the hood, where it's mainly POC. So I'm like, so hold on, we got to clean this up. So I was able to to bring this opportunity to them, and they saw value in it. And so here we are. $1.4 million is what they've initially invested. And we're going to make sure we clean up the site.
Well, this is really, inspiring to me, because being somebody who's actually seen development deals take years to accomplish, I just want to say kudos to you. And I want you to be able to speak to that a little bit, because sometimes people see these press releases, right? They see, oh, there's, GardnerGlobal once again. It must just be so easy for him and for his team. But this is real, like, perseverance, honestly, over time. And I think a lot of people don't understand a lot of the negotiations, the contracts, the conversations, all these discussions that you have to make something like this happen. Tell us about all of that kind of work that people really don't see behind the scenes, man.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's so true. None of this happens overnight. You don't just like wake up and all of a sudden you are going to acquire 27,000 square feet.
Right.
You don't just wake up and that contract's in your lap. You don't just wake up and the state of Washington is like, hey, we'll award you $1.4 million. That stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's the grind, it's the persistence, but also it's the team. So I got a lot of folks who are behind me, who are with me, in front of me, to the side of me, who are doing incredible work. And we work together to make these things happen. So, it takes years. And although we sent out the press release letting folks know that we're acquiring 27,000 square feet of Skyway, again, I've been in Skyway since 2017, trying to figure out a solution to the environmental justice issue, which is a massive piece of property that is massively toxic and contaminated in a majority POC neighborhood. I thought that's an issue. And so, and the state did too. And so there's a lot of things that people don't see, right? I had to negotiate with the seller, old school Greek family. How does that even work? You know what I mean? Do they even want to sell to a black dude? Is that even like a thing? You know what I mean? Like, so, I have a strong legal team. I have a strong project management team, and we keep it pushing. We don't take no for an answer when it comes to this game, because, traditionally we've been disenfranchised from playing this game. So welcome, hello, I'm here, we're here, and we ain't going nowhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? So a lot of work.
Right. And what's going to happen now? So you acquire the land, and clearly it needs to be cleaned up. And so maybe you can talk about your guys' expertise, or the partners that you guys are bringing on board for the cleanup, and then what's ultimately going to be developed there.
Yeah, so we're several years out before anything's really going to happen. We're in the first initial phases of trying to understand how toxic the site is. We know it's toxic. There was a gas station 80 plus years ago, and then there was 2 laundromats on top of that. So it's pretty bad from a soil contamination perspective. So, without getting too much in the nuance of the details of how we go about the process, because I geek out, I nerd out on this stuff. This is what I do every day. But it's going to take at least another couple years. We got to study it. My team has to study it. B, they have to come up with a solution for it. And then three, C, we have to come up with more funding to remediate, to actually clean up before we can do any building. Before we can do any building, before we can even put a crane anywhere, we have to do all those things because we're going to do it right. We can't take no shortcuts. So, Big O, to answer your question, we're looking at affordable housing, traditional affordable housing on the site. And we want to create some home ownership opportunities for people, especially Black and brown folks. So we're going to look at them. We've been looking at models where we can create opportunity for Black and brown folks to become homeowners. And what better place for that to happen than a neighborhood where we most reside. Yeah. So, and it's one of those things where like, we don't have to do that. Right. But we know that that's the right thing to do. Yeah. And so we're looking at a lot of partnerships. We got amazing support down there in Skyway, a lot of love down there, like a lot of love, from a lot of local business owners, to King County folks who live in the neighborhood, lifelong members, who support our mission. And so we're excited to bring those folks along, and we're going to do the same thing we're doing in the Central District. We're going to give those folks an opportunity to design, input, influence, so that way we create something that ultimately folks feel great about and feel good about. And so we're just kind of the vessel, you know what I mean? We're just the steward, and then we let everybody else just kind of run it up from there.
Well, bringing people into the process is key to any of these developments. I think when we're talking about, creating development opportunities that serve community, the best way to do it is to ensure that community voice is at the center, really leading the process. So kudos to you on that, because community engagement is huge when it comes to these projects. But you're talking about all of this work, right? Gears out and everything else. This really brings me to the fact that it takes so many different people and experts to be on these projects, to be part of your team. When we think about real estate, oftentimes we think about a real estate, agent, maybe even a broker or somebody that's handling like mortgage or like the financial aspects. But I really want to open up the opportunity here to say that there are people that are agricultural specialists, environmental specialists. The idea is that our young people in community, Black and brown kids, can start understanding some of these building blocks that are foundational to making these kind of development projects happen. It takes people that have years of expertise, but there's ways and pathways for young people to kind of work their way into this. If they love the environment, they can also be a part of these amazing development projects. Talk a little bit about some of these experts you really have to work with to make this happen.
Yeah, that's a great point. I can't do it all, and I don't know it all, and I don't want to know it all. I mean, you got to hire people who are smarter than you. And you're absolutely right. There's so many ways that folks can get involved. And that's one of the reasons why I choose to be a little bit more public with our work. If you really look at it, a lot of developers, they stay quiet. Yeah. They don't want to know. They don't want you to know where they're buying, how much they're buying, how much they bought for. They don't want people knowing their business, right? But I feel like it's very important for folks, particularly Black and brown folks, to know that it is possible to do this work. And once you get in, there's a myriad of ways to be involved. If you're about the environment, you should look into a geotechnical engineering company. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're on the construction side, there's so many ways to get involved on that side. Legal side, project management side, accounting side. I mean, I could keep going on and on. There's so many ways for people to plug in, but it's all about the passion and the willingness to actually learn and be a master of your craft. So, a lot of what we do at Gardner Global is we want to create opportunity. We want to create those lanes. We want to open those lanes up for folks who traditionally would not be in that space, right? And so, particularly with Skyway, actually, what I did is I went out and sought out a structural engineer and a civil engineer that were Black. Mm. And guess what? They don't live in Seattle. Yeah. But one of them used to live in Skyway, and he owns his own firm, and then he's in Dallas. And he's like, I want to work on that project. I said, absolutely. What do you mean? So when people are like, well, we try to hire Black people and we can't find them. Well, get out the state. Yeah. I mean, what? What do you mean? That's an excuse. And so I want this to be a model of like, if you really want to put Black people on, you can. You just got to get out the box a little bit, you know what I mean? And not be scared and just be like, oh, well, we sent out a notice on the DJC and didn't get a response. It's like, no, there's people out there who are experts, who are licensed, who are professionals, who are Black, who are ready to do the work. You just got to look a little deeper. And so we're excited to bring a couple of those folks on who are going to be Black engineers on the project. I'm looking around like, where are all the Black engineers at? You know what I mean? Well, that project will have that. So from the inside out, from community work to the folks that we hire to put on the project, we're just trying to put people on. We're trying to put people on.
Well, I know, Omar, you have something else to say. I just want to say one more thing to that, because I think that this is exactly why these types of projects are necessary. We're creating the demand for Black engineers, right? And this is why I bring in young people, because I was on a construction site with young folks, and it was like a field trip, and they were asking all these pertinent questions, but they weren't seeing anybody that looked like them on this major project. And the ideas the company was saying, look, we want you to want these kinds of jobs. We want you to get the education and the experience that's necessary for you to be the one running this project, for you to be the engineer doing the soil samples and figuring out how much toxicity is in the land. We want you to be able to understand that this should be you. We want this to be you one day. And I think opening up that opportunity is important for young people to see it, but it's also what you just said. It's having development projects that are being very intentional to seek it. So the more that there is a demand, the more there can become more of a supply of it. So I just want to say kudos to you. Sorry, go ahead, O.
Oh no, I mean that's all true. And by
Trey's
the
on a
way,
roll right now. Let's go.
yeah, but by the way, just to let you know, right? I actually went to school for geology and got a minor in environmental science. So I want to, yeah, you have a
Of
black
course you did. Man,
geologist
what
out
don't
here,
you
man.
do? What don't you do, Big O?
I fell in love with radio. You know what I'm saying? I used to actually run an environmental research lab out in coastal North Carolina, man. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's up? You trying to slide in on this project? What's up, man? What's going on?
We're gonna have to talk off there. I might have some expertise. Hey, one of the things I wanted to bring up here, man, before we let you go, is that that we didn't really get to talk about last time. Is that you really? I mean, it's like a slogan for you, literally, and building generational wealth. Let's build wealth. Believe in yourself, and all that. We talked a little bit last time about the book, but like, where does this push for you in wanting to create these opportunities, or at least impart knowledge for community members about the importance of building wealth and generational wealth? A lot of people get wealthy and kind of keep it to themselves.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people actually maintain their wealth, is they get the bag and they keep it to themselves. And the bag just works bag works when they sleep. I don't know, I just want to say, like, in other cities and other metropolises that are majority Black, they don't really have this issue. You know what I mean? It's a different issue. Not that they do, but like we're more in abundance in those places. So there's a lot of Jaebadiahs, there's a lot of advanced maximizers, a lot of Londons, a lot of Treys, there's a lot of Big O's in Atlanta, in DC, in Chicago, Miami. There's a lot of folks doing amazing work. We're just a little sparse out here in the town. Just a little sparse. And so, I feel like in order to kind of get things moving, like I said this last time, like someone has to take a machete to the high weeds. Someone's got to pave that path. And I know my lane, and that our lane is real estate development. That's our lane. We're not in anybody else's lane. We're not trying to be. And so if we can kind of pave a path for other folks to come behind us, it's less work that they have to do, and hopefully expedites their journey so they can get to that wealth building process way quicker than Jaebadiah, way quicker than me. I mean, and that's what wealth is, more than just money. You know what I mean? Wealth is educational wealth, relationship wealth, intellectual wealth. So those things is really what I want to focus on, and the bag will be there. The other half is like, it ain't going nowhere. Stuff gets printed every day. Mm-hmm. It's on a print machine and it gets printed, and we live in the most wealthiest cities in the world. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried about how do we get people on intellectually about how do they get it, but more importantly, how do you maintain it? And that's not something traditionally that I came from. So I had to surround myself around people who knew how to do that, who knew how to maintain it. Folks who, like, you would probably never assume would actually get our back. Folks who, you know what I mean? Who you'd be like, wait a minute, that person really looks out. They're just not out there like that, right? The bag stays very quiet, but they do support. You just got to be able to, like, get into that room, prove yourself worthy that you're there for the long term, because wealth is not short term. Yeah. Wealth is not short term. And so if you're on some turn and burn stuff where, like, you got a here today, gone tomorrow type of deal, I mean, like, I don't know what to say, but, like, great, you got a bag for 6 months or 12 months, but where are you going to be the next 12 months? Where are you going to be the next 136 months? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we're long-term thinkers, we're long-term strategists. And so we're trying to do is just, like, make sure that, Black and brown folks in Seattle, whatever you're doing, whatever your hustle is, just think long-term, just a little bit. You know what I mean? And that way you extend that bread a little bit, and then you're able to maintain it and then pass it on.
Yeah.
And if it's not the bread, then pass on the knowledge. And so I'm just trying to pass on the game as quickly as I get the game. I'll just give it right back.
Yeah.
There's no use for me hoarding it. I mean, we learned from the generation before us, right? There's a baton, and they didn't want to let go of that baton. And we're like, hey, we're ready to run. And they're like, nah, you're not. I'm ready to run. So we just took the baton.
Yeah.
It's ours now.
I
Welcome.
love this. I love this so much. This message resonates with me so much because you're absolutely right. And so much of it is about proving to yourself, right? Like you can do this. You can go out with your own knowledge, your expertise, your passion, right? All the things that you need to make it happen. Man, Jaebadiah, always great to have you in here with us. Always great to have you in here with us.
So much.
Great interview with Jaebadiah today. Oh.
Yeah, no doubt. And but I'm gonna remove myself here from the stream, and we're gonna let you look right into that camera right there, Jaebadiah, and tell people how they can keep up with you.
For sure. You can reach out to me. All the platforms, not hard to find. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Jaebadiah, Jaebadiah. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to, drop a DM. Like I'm always responsive. I respond to everybody who hollers at me because we got a lot of building to do. And we got to do it together. So let's build wealth. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me. And, let's just keep on the grind.
Let's keep on the grind. I'm with it, man. I'm ready to keep on the grind with you, brother. And we appreciate you for being here. And honestly, I just appreciate your message and your intentionality to open up your expertise and everything that you're learning to the rest of the community. It's necessary. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.